Hello there and welcome to episode 47 of Never Mind the Bullens. And my name is Mike Peters. This is your bite-sized Everton podcast and vodcast. I did get a text after the game last night saying to me, when's the podcast out then? And I said, it'll be out tomorrow. And they went, well, that's a bit lazy, innit? And I said, well, I'm channeling Alex Iwobi. Just, poor delivery, late. So, there's something quite prophetic about that, or poetic. Really, really disappointing defeat, another home defeat at home to Burnley, who deserved the win. I don't think there's any question about that. Burnley came and did exactly what we kind of expected them to do, other than scoring an absolutely brilliant goal from Dwight McNeil, but there you go. So we'll pour over the bones of that. The big miss, of course, I think is Abdoulaye Doucouré. The fact that he's now going to be missing for the next 8 to 10 weeks, we may not see him again this season with this fracture of his foot, is a huge blow. He's such a crucial player for us. There are other players through the season where they've been missing for any sort of a period, and we've managed to survive. Luca Dean, we survived that. I think, and Seamus Coleman, James, really, although we probably could have done with him last night, is quality delivery. But Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Abdoulaye Doucouré are probably the key ones that we can't do without. And to have him missing not just for a week or two, but for couple of months is a massive blow, just at the point at which we got ourselves we're in a position where we can really challenge for the top four, and we're in that hunt. Whether we're good enough remains to be seen, and on the evidence of last night clearly we're not, but having missing that's a big blow for us. I said after the Chelsea game on Monday that there was no disgrace in defeat in that particular game. That absolutely is not true in terms of last night. It was a really, really disappointing and underwhelming, disjointed performance. We could have scored very early on. Richarlison was given a lot of space by Burnley and dropped off into those spaces and started to use them well. And but for a good save by Nick Pope, we could have ended up. We could have been ahead after the first 3 minutes. But this again reflects our home form this season has been so poor. That's our 7th home defeat of the season. Now, I was thinking about this, and if we halved the amount of defeats that we'd had at home and turned those, let's say we had 7, we've turned 3 of them into wins, and we got 1 draw. Yeah, so 3 draws, 3 wins, 1 draw, and 3 defeats out of those 7 home defeats that we've actually had. We would be in second. We would be second right now, and although we may not be deserved to be second on the balance of our squad and the strength and depth and all the rest of it, it just shows how crucial those defeats. I mean, you forget any poor performances away from home, but look at the teams that we've lost against. It's not just the defeats, it's who we've lost to. Fulham, Burnley, Newcastle, Leeds, all right, they're a bit of a throw a 6 to start team. They'll either be brilliant or they'll be awful, Leeds. They're a very mixed bag, and when they're good, they're very good, and they were good. They're massive, big defeats. Losing at home to West Ham in such a terrible game on New Year's Day. Crucial things, and it's going to cost us. I mean, traditionally, our home form, stretching back many years, has been really, really good, but it's been very, very mixed over the last few years. And I mentioned this before, but talking about I think Roberto Martinez's last season, where we ended up with, was it 5 or possibly 6 home wins? That's winning a third of your home games. That's just desperate. I mean, and we're heading towards that now. But I just think, again, it brings into quite a sort of sharp relief where we're at as a team. And, given, yes, we recruited well and we've got a huge amount of potential for the next few seasons if we add to those players, and having signed the likes of Luca Dean on long-term contracts, obviously getting Ben Godfrey and all the rest of it in. But it does show where the fault lines are in the team and where we are lacking. I thought Alan was very disappointing last night. I think that's probably his poorest game, and dropped below his incredibly high standards. I'm not going to dig him out, but he seemed last night to be very much chasing shadows, and I think part of that was the fact that Abdoulaye Doucouré wasn't there. He was exposed a little bit, and he sort of overcommitted himself, I think, for the Dwight McNeil goal, and sort of jumping towards the ball when he actually just didn't need to. He just needs to be a bit cute and be the player that he's been for us all season. I mean, again, he's been out for a period of time, so it's going to take him a little while to get back to the real match pace. Maybe he's not quite there yet. second half, when we got ourselves, having gone 2-0 down, and got ourselves back in the game, and I was, if we could get one in before half time, I thought, right, we're back in this. There was a chance of us turning the game round. But we didn't create any sustained pressure. Burnley defended very deep, numbers behind the ball, and they were just prepared to kind of just see it out. And arguably, they'd probably been happy with a draw coming into the game. But we just didn't create anything. Delivery from wide areas was just not really good enough. Luca Dean's corner delivery last night was awful, which seems to be a bit of a perennial problem for us, going back a many a long year, even though the quality of set-piece deliveries we've had, Leighton Baines, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Kevin Morales, all these people that are really, really good with set-pieces, and yet from corners, we're generally not very good. But we didn't create that sustained pressure that you would hope would suck the ball in, and then the last few minutes, it just wasn't when you expected to. You want it to be like the Alamo, and you want, the old adage, as Howard Kendall once said, of the Gladys Street sucking the ball in for you. Well, we weren't there to do that, obviously, but it just didn't happen. And there needs to be, obviously, there's a lot of talk in this day and age about sports psychologists and all these things, but you do wonder whether they need to have a conversation at Finch Farm with somebody and say, what is the problem? What is the issue with our home form? Why do you feel that Goodison, we're not getting results there? There's obviously something deeper than just playing poorly, because you can't consistently play that poorly at home. It's a very, very unusual thing. So, it's absolutely unequivocally another 3 points dropped. We're now behind West Ham. They've got a game in hand on us. We're 5 points behind Chelsea. Obviously, we're still sat sixth, but it's disappointing. It's a big missed opportunity. But I think it clearly shows where the recruitment needs to be done. I mentioned it after the Chelsea game on Monday about the sort of the lack of options on the bench. And although we had a few more players back, Gylfi Sigurdsson was fit enough to be on the bench, but didn't come on, so clearly wasn't fit really at all. It was desperate. No Robin Olsen at the minute, so João Virginia has to come on and make his debut. Did all right. Looked obviously a little bit nervous early on. The whole vignette at the end with Nick Pope coming and standing around and Robbie Brady giving him a shove and all the rest of it was quite amusing. But he did okay. Made the saves that he needed to make. Would he end up playing next Saturday against Manchester City in the FA Cup quarter-final? That's a big game for him, but again, it's a bit of a shot to nothing for us. There's no pressure on us, actually, at Goodison on that one, because City, obviously, are an absolute juggernaut, and we're probably not expected to get anything, so it's a bit of a gimme, really, isn't it? But, and that's the thing, when you think you've come off the back of last night and we've lost the game, and it's a really disappointing performance, another very disappointing home result, and then you think, actually, hang on a minute, we're still sixth. We're still sat, with an FA Cup quarter-final to come next week. We're not that far off getting ourselves back in the top four. We're still in the hunt. Actually, everything is nowhere near as bad as we think it actually is. It's one of those. It's a bit of an odd one. But this does need to be arrested. So, of course, Man City next week in the FA Cup quarter-final, massive game. And then, looking at our fixtures in April, we've got Crystal Palace, Brighton away, and then we're at home to Tottenham and away at Arsenal. Again, all the games are crucial at this stage of the season. But, it is still in our hands. We can still arrest this. It's just a case of sorting out that home form. We've now got a couple of weeks, obviously, before our next home league match. So take next Saturday out of the equation in terms of, yes, it's a home game, but it's a home cup game and the mentality is a bit different. There's a few weeks to arrest this and to still make sure that our home form is impactful in a positive way on where we finish the season. So, until next Saturday and the FA Cup quarter-final, you can get in touch at nmtvpod or nmtvpod@gmail.com. This has been a Top Content production. Until episode 48. Come on, you Blues.